Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Why Germans Don't Feel the Silence. I had no idea they really do value their silence. Are Germans known for being quite quiet? I think probably yes, right? I think that they have a reputation for being loud speakers, as the language sounds harsh. But I don't feel they have their reputation for being, oh, they're super chatty. I don't think they do. But I'm excited to check this out, so come join me and comment, like and subscribe.
Let's start with something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
Silence?
Silence. Not dramatic silence. Not angry silence.
An awkward pause?
Just quiet. For many people visiting Germany, silence feels awkward. Like something went wrong. Like someone is upset. Like you're supposed to say something. But in Germany, silence usually doesn't mean any of that. It means nothing is wrong. And once you understand that, a lot of German behavior suddenly makes sense.
I am bored, what should I do? Ich weiß, get Germanized.
The common misunderstanding. If you come from a culture where conversation is used to create comfort, silence feels like failure. You fill it, you joke, you explain, you apologize for it. So when a German sits next to you quietly, doesn't react much, doesn't comment on everything, your brain starts spinning. Are they bored? Did they say something wrong? Should I keep talking? But here's the key difference.
I think this is bad for anxious people because you feel, I think you start, oh no, I should fill the silence with something, and then you spitballs from there and you start making, you say nonsense, but it's just because, oh no, do they not like me?
In Germany, silence is not a social emergency. It's a neutral state. What silence means in Germany. In German culture, silence often means I'm comfortable, I'm present.
Oh, I
don't need to perform right now. There's no assumption that sound equals connection. Connection can exist without constant verbal confirmation.
Absolutely true.
You see this everywhere. On trains, in waiting rooms, on walks, even between friends. Two people can sit together quietly and feel completely fine about it. No tension, no awkwardness, no need to fix anything. Silence isn't cold here, it's calm. Why talking all the time can feel strange to Germans. From a German perspective, constant talking can feel unnecessary or even intrusive. Not because Germans dislike people, but because speech is treated as intentional. You speak.
Yeah, instead of saying nonsense, just say what you actually mean. If you have something to say, then go and talk, speak.
When there's something to say, not to fill space, not to reassure. Not to manage emotions indirectly. This is why small talk often feels minimal in Germany. It's not rejection, it's efficiency, emotional and social. The role of trust. Here's something important most people miss. Silence in Germany is often a sign of trust. If I'm quiet around you, it means I don't feel the need to impress you. I don't need to prove friendliness. I don't need to entertain. I don't need to manage the atmosphere. That's actually a compliment. You're allowed to just be there. Why foreigners feel exposed by silence. Silence forces you to sit with yourself. And that's uncomfortable if you're used to conversation as a buffer. In cultures where warmth is expressed verbally, quiet can feel like withdrawal. But in Germany, warmth is often shown through reliability, consistency, and presence, not chatter. Someone showing up on time, keeping their promise, sitting with you quietly. That's care. Practical reframe. So, if you're in Germany and the silence hits, don't rush to fill it. Pause. Enjoy it.
And I think that's true because there's beauty in silence as well, which I think is really, it can be comfortable silence, it can be good, but I think, if you're super chatty, it can feel a little bit, what's happening?
Notice your body. Notice that nothing bad is happening. That moment of quiet, that's not rejection. That's permission. Permission to stop performing. Permission to exist without commentary. German silence isn't awkward. It's peaceful, and once you stop fighting it, you might realize something surprising. The silence isn't uncomfortable. The expectations you brought with you are. If this helped something click for you, you're not alone. And if you've ever misread German silence before, welcome to the club. See you in the next one. And apart from that, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to get Germanized. Goodbye and auf Wiedersehen.
I love this part. The whole thing about performing, I think that's really, I hadn't thought of this, but I do feel, I get what I think what the whole point is. Sometimes, and I can see why Germans feel this way, I think when you're, again, socialization, I think can come in so many different fonts. I think you can socialize, by talking, you can socialize by laughing, by gestures. You can socialize in so many different ways. It doesn't mean necessarily, talking. I think that's a form. I think it's kind of crazy because it's I think it's opposites, right? But if you're silent, you're not communicating. But sometimes silence is communication, and I'm communicating by not speaking, by not talking. My silence, sort of interpret my silence. I think you'll come across as, oh no, I get exactly what you mean. It's not necessarily to fill every sentence or every single space with a sentence. So I think that's, I get what you could feel sometimes, especially I think if you come, like they said, from a culture of, you're very chatty, you're used to to everyone making small talk and everyone sort of talking and constantly filling the silences. It's not a comfortable silence. Some people, like I just mentioned, some people may feel as an, it's silent, it means, they're bored. It means I don't, I'm not entertaining them enough. So I have to sort of, I have to say something because I have to entertain them. But I think, and that's why what I'm going with the whole performing thing. It's not, you shouldn't feel the need to sort of perform for people. Again, because the point is socializing and is to create, you're creating bonds with people or just enjoying each other's company. You shouldn't feel the need to sort of be, I have to put on my suit. Obviously, your metaphorical suit. You're not becoming an actor as in, I'm putting on makeup, I'm putting on a hat, and I'm entertaining them. No, but it's a thing about you. Maybe there's a thing in the back of your mind that tells you, I have to keep them entertained, so I have to keep this person entertained. How? Well, by talking, fill in the silence, which I think it's probably a bad way to go around things. But I think obviously when people do this, they're not thinking about this, that hard. Is just something that's ingrained in people's brains, and they don't really, again, it's not something as like, I feel I'm doing this on purpose. No, it's just an unconscious thing that people do, because that's I think maybe how you, I don't know, this is a personal thing, how you, I don't know, it's your personality, it's how you grew up, or it's where you live. I don't know, there's so many factors. But I like that you can really do feel, again, if someone tells you this, maybe you can be aware in the future to be, I shouldn't probably feel this way. But I like that they do value their silence, because I think and it's very important. I think especially in this day and age, I think always, again, this come across as, it can, again, it's not a one per culture in particular that does this, because I feel I think it just depends a lot on your personality. There's others, other people. I think if you're an extrovert, this is going to be really hard for you, because you're going to feel the need to, I have to explain myself. That actually makes me question, are Germans, there are a lot of Germans that are probably extroverts as well, because obviously that's not, there's not a cliche of, the introverted German doesn't really speak. No, of course not. I know that there are some Germans that are very extrovert, but I want to know how probably it's a bit different than I am imagining. We're very different from, I don't know, an American extrovert, because again, they don't really feel a need to sort of discuss and be constantly talking and be constantly, chatting 24/7. But again, this brings us to a point, which I think quietness is so important. I think in this day and age, when you're surrounded by so many noise, and that noise can be a physical noise, as in you're listening to the noise, because obviously, there's a whole, the cities, and you have the cars, and there's just a lot of noise in general. And also, I think the noise as an, I don't know, it can feel anything. There's so many things going around in the world, and it feels as it, and it's constant. Everything's sort of a million things happening at all times. So you feel, you're being bombarded by information, and that can feel as, as noise, as this sort of metaphorical noise that is going in your brain. And again, maybe you feel the need to, I think I'm very stressed by this whole thing. And it can be nice to just be and just enjoy the quietness, and that obviously can be interpreted. You can interpret this, I think, in different ways. It can feel both as, maybe disconnect yourself from the whole sort of world and have a piece of quietness for yourself to center yourself. But also, I think if you're constantly surrounded by noise and by people talking all the time, how are you going to I don't know, enjoy yourself and your own thoughts and your own mind. I think that's really a really important thing that most people probably take for granted, because again, you're constantly sort of, there's always something happening, or there's constant, someone's always talking to you, and you feel the need to be on and sort of, I have to answer to them, or that sort of noise that I was talking about. But I think it's very important to recognize, those silent moments, both for other people and for yourself, because I think you have to, and again, maybe this is something that people do sometimes, is the whole, I'm not feeling comfortable with silence. When there's someone, when you're in someone's company, and whether that's a group of people or just one person or whatever, it just means, when you're in a group of people and whatever that person may be, and you feel the need to be constantly sort of, again, you're filling the gaps with the silence because you're not feeling comfortable, or even sometimes with yourself. Maybe if you're on your own, but there's constant noise all around you, and maybe, you have your, the TV on, or music on, or a podcast, something. I think it's important to sort of reflect and be, why do I feel the need to sort of fill these silences with something, with noise, with someone talking, with me talking, or, I have to, ask me something and, talk to me. It's not, and again, sometimes you kind of do this, people do this unconsciously, but no, I think it's important to sort of reflect on this, and why do I feel the need to, am I not enjoying myself, I'm not enjoying my own company? Because everything, and again, for obviously socialization, it's between other humans. But I think it's very important to sort of connect with yourself. And you should you should be able to spend a few hours in your own company, inside your own brain, without any constant, without an exterior noise or form of communication. You should be able to communicate with yourself, in your brain. Have your internal monologue or whatever, however that looks like, but just in your own brain, it's important to sort of enjoy your own company. Because if you don't enjoy your company as in your own, I enjoy spending time with myself, I think it's a little bit hard. Then maybe that the problems I think come across, you can come across as problems like this, as, I don't feel comfortable, so I have to speak up when I am with someone. So I think it's really important to sort of reflect and be, no, I like quietness. I like being quiet because it allows me to reflect and spend time with myself. And it actually is really good sometimes when you're, there's a comfortable silence, or again, you don't feel the need to, to be constantly chatting. It's just, no, we're both here, and each of us, it's in its own space, in their own sort of heads, and you're on your thinking, you're enjoying each other's company. But it's both. You're enjoying your company with yourself, but at the same time, you're enjoying the company with that other person that's also enjoying their company with inside their own selves as well. And if something important comes along, and you want to communicate something, then go and say it. And I think that's also a thing. And maybe if words were the economy, I think sometimes you're being economical with your thoughts or with your words. Sometimes, you're constantly, what I mean is constantly communicating and constantly talking. Well, that's the thing. Constantly talking doesn't necessarily mean you're constantly communicating, because sometimes, again, if you just want to feel the silence, you just go and say whatever it is. You want to, you say nonsense, or you say whatever. Obviously, you're not saying blah, 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 but you're saying whatever, things that probably the other person doesn't care about, or I don't know. It's just because, again, you're doing it to fill the silence. But I think what's more valuable, and that's what I mean. Well, if words were and communication were the economy, would you rather to have, or a diet? I don't know. Well, maybe this is a really bad example, but instead of junk food all the time and things that are not going to be nutritious to you, that's fine every once in a while. But your diet shouldn't always consist of this. You should have more nutritious things and things that are better for you health-wise. So I think maybe that's, again, you can make the comparison and be, sometimes it's more important, instead of just, constantly having, constant chatter that's not really communicating anything, or being, maybe, and I don't want to say the word important, because I think, well, whatever it is, something you can say something very silly, or to you that may sound silly, or to the other person just, I'm saying nonsense. But maybe for the other person that's hearing this, maybe it can be, I had a breakthrough. What did you just say? This was incredible. So maybe it's a little bit of a bad comparison, but again, it's sort of, that's sort of the where I'm going with this sort of weird metaphor. But the thing is that sometimes, it can be better to just be economical about this and be, no, I only speak when I have something to say something good to say. So, it's going to make an impact, because if you're constantly chatting, you're constantly, again, saying nonsense or whatever, people are not going to be, maybe they're going to zone out, they're going to stop paying attention, or maybe they're going to be, what is this person about? Again, they're going to block you out. But if they know that, oh no, you only speak when you have something sort of good to say, and I know it's just sort of what's good and what's bad, but whatever, it's sort of in the wide sort of generalization of things. It's just, again, if you're being something, you don't always sort of fill the silence with sort of nonsense, then people are probably going to be, you have something good to say, because you use your words carefully. And when you actually talk, I know that you're communicating. And again, because constantly talking doesn't necessarily mean we're communicating. It just means you're constantly talking about God knows what. But it's not, I don't feel like I know you a little bit better. Or again, I have some, or again, you're saying something important to me. So it really does depend. But I like it. It's really, I think maybe we should think more about this. And I think more people should definitely, again, enjoy silence. Silence is not a bad thing. I think maybe as a community, and I don't know, maybe it's culture, or I don't know, maybe that's it, but maybe not. No, it's not, again, it's not everyone, but I think sometimes it can really does. I think you can feel as culture is constantly just putting the pressure on you to, you have to, silence are bad. You have to constantly, noise, noise is good. And not necessarily. And happy to report that Germans do not feel the need to do that. It's fine. And again, even with the small talk, that's why they feel no. Again, that's why they're efficient. They're efficient, and that's what I mean. The whole, again, they're using the words carefully. It's why it's not efficient. Why would I do a small talk with you if it's not gonna be? I don't care about the weather. So, or I'm not. If you're a stranger, I'm sorry, I don't care about you. Which I can maybe a little harsh, but I think again, I can see where they're going with this. If I really do put myself in sort of that situation, yeah, I can see why it can come across for them as, why this is random? Why are you talking to me? Why are you talking to me about your life? If you're a stranger and I do not care, you're not my friend, you're not a loved one. So why would I care about, your life? It's not efficient. It's not a way of, again, you're just saying words that I don't really care. So it's not communicating. But maybe I think that brings maybe a whole other zoo of issues. Then how are we going to create a rapport, and how are we going to create, I think, valuable friendships and relationships if we're not sort of, again, sometimes mindless chatter, sometimes, it's the first step towards a beautiful relationship. So I don't know, but maybe that's a thing for another video. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.